Who's ready for some tea from the leading source for LGBTQ plus business news, served with dignity and depth? Our guest is the founder and CEO of an award-winning LGBTQ plus business news media startup. And you do not want to miss a single drop of his startup insights and advice. Stay tuned for the Startup Life Live show. Let's glow, everyone. Hello and welcome to the Startup Life Live show. I'm your host, Ande, Lyons, 4 times founder and startup champion to founders around the world. And after raising 4 businesses of my own, can I just say I am in awe and wonder of all of you founders who get up every day to figure out all these problems and challenges that you have and celebrating all the wins that you have and just going with the whole package of startup life. It is not easy, and it's the best personal development program you will find out there. Am I right? And I'm so grateful that you carved out time to tune in, because what you're going to hear today is going to up your founder game. And when you do better, that's right, your startup will do better. I'm sending out a big mwah and yoo-hoo to the live viewers, to you wonderful replay viewers, and podcast listeners. I'm so grateful that you are here tuning in and celebrating the joy of founderhood. For those of you tuning in from YouTube, if you haven't done so already, please click that subscribe button and the notification bell there so you always receive an alert when I go live. And if you haven't done so already, come on over to the Startup Life Live meetup group. This way you'll get a deep dive alert whenever I post a new show. You're going to get all the scoop on the founder that's going to be interviewed and who I'm going to be having an ANDELICIOUS conversation with. And that way you may say, oh my gosh, I've got some questions. I want to be there. I want to be in the seat live and get the goods and go, hey, I've got a question. Or you might be able to tune in later and get the nuggets you need for your business. Getting the deep dive will help you know what industry, who is this person? I want to hear their story. I want to hear how they figured it out, because I am so stuck where I am right now. And sometimes just getting that one little bit of, ooh, and you have that aha moment, and then you're running back to your desk or wherever you're working from. And there you are, you're moving forward. I have a little bit of ANDELICIOUS advice for you today that I want to share. And I think it's just so, so important, especially for founders. You need to protect yourself. And so this is something sort of like a seed thought to think about. And that is, stay away from people who belittle your ambitions. Small people always do this, but the really great folks in your life make you believe that you too can be great. And often loved ones can be so afraid for you. They feel like it's a train wreck about to happen because this is just out of their realm of understanding. You're taking a chance. Stop, go back, get on payroll somewhere. Stop trying to achieve. It's too scary to watch you. So they may try to hold you back. Or when you're reaching for the stars and pursuing your dreams, this reminds them that they're not making the effort or to pursue their dreams, and the contrast is too much for them. So they will find ways to make you feel badly about your dreams and vision for the future. Or they may think if you're successful, you will no longer love them. And this goes for perfect strangers too. They've got all sorts of stuff, and they can just be posting at you, and you're like, what the heck? I'm just trying to launch this business here. Whatever is behind someone's belittling and marginalizing your efforts to succeed, guess what, founders? It is up to you to set the boundaries. You can love them from a distance. Yay, good luck. Or you can ignore them. Don't let that criticism, their fears, and their stuff get in the way of you pursuing your dreams. Find the folks who cheer you on and, more importantly, believe in your ability to figure it out. The ones who say, and you only really need one person who can say this, which is, you've got this. I believe in you. How can I help? All right, take that, and hopefully that helps your founder journey be easier and filled with a little more grace, especially from you, right? Okay, so I'm just so excited to introduce you to our guest today. I found him on Instagram, and seriously, I shared him with everybody. He is so wonderful. It is the amazing Travers Johnson. And let me just tell you a little bit about him. He's the founder and CEO of Queerancy, an award-winning LGBTQ plus business media startup. And that's not all. He's the creator of LGBTQ plus Business Week, an annual 7-day celebration of queer-owned small businesses. He's also the winner of the Google News Initiative Pitch Fest and the Maynard Institute Media Entrepreneurship Award. And yeah, I'm not done yet, folks. An award-winning content strategist and editor with 15 years of experience in digital media, book publishing, and email marketing with companies. I got to tell you, Travers is passionate about helping people tell their stories across various mediums. Let's bring him into the room and say, hey, welcome, Travis.
Hi, Andy. Hi, Startup Live community. Thank you for that introduction.
We are so, well, please, it's like, and that commercial, and there's more. We've got these special tools and gifts. Anyway, I want to say a quick hello to, of course, in the front row, the one and only Mia Voss. Hey, Mia.
Hey, Mia.
So happy you're here. And Ruth is saying, yay, Mia Voss, because Mia's tuning in everywhere. She's over here on YouTube. She's over here on Facebook. She is in the front row. She's not going to miss anything. And folks who tune in often know that I don't ever mention Mia's name without doing this. Hold on, let me just grab the boop, boop. Hold on. Working the band, everything here. Hello. It's the Shit We Don't Talk About podcast with Mia Voss. Folks, you know, nobody knows how to bring the tough topics to light like Mia Voss in a way that feels good while also talking about what's real. So go check out the Shit We Don't Talk About podcast with Mia Voss. So hello, Travers. Where are you hailing from today?
I am based in Austin, Texas.
Oh, great. So you're enjoying a beautiful day, perhaps? Good weather, maybe?
It's a little overcast today, but I'm not complaining because
okay,
well, in Austin. So
we've got about 5 or 6 inches of snow here in Boston. Lovely. It's still going, but it's fun. And folks, be sure to let us know where you're hanging out from today. And also, you know, we're live right now on LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube. And these videos are evergreen, right? People can find them anytime. And so I invite you to amplify your brand. Share your business name, one-liner, and website URL in the comments. We, Travers and I, will celebrate you and your wonderful work live during the show. I'm telling you, you have no idea who might tune in and go, I want to know more about that business. It could lead to miracles happening. It's your job as a founder to always be amplifying your business. And do not hesitate to pop any questions into the comments because we all learn together. And there may be a burning question you have or a pesky detail you need help with your startup. Travers and I are here for you. We're here to help you, as are the people who are tuning in live or later. So don't forget to do that. And we have yes, that's right. Ruth is commenting on my comment today, which is stay away from people who belittle your ambitions. That's so true. And coming into us from Ottawa, Canada, is our wonderful special fan, Brent, who always reminds us that diversity is innovation, especially for our neurodiverse folks. And he is a loyal fan of LGBTQ2 plus Allie. And he's saying it have to have a seat at the table. I've never seen the two before, but hey, we'll learn. Anyway, and Mia's saying right here, and I agree with her, Travers, thank you for the amazing.
Mia. I appreciate it. Thank you for your support.
Hey, thank you for the amazing work. Okay, so let's get into how did this all come about? Because there you were, minding your business, working away for some great companies, adding value everywhere you glowed. What called you, Travers Johnson, to become an entrepreneur?
Well, thank you again for having me. I'm so excited to be here. And I don't think that I was necessarily called to be an entrepreneur as much as to solve a problem. And that problem was that my background is in book publishing and digital media, and I've always been very interested in news and media at the intersection of diverse communities and business. And so for years, I've been reading Forbes, Fast Company, etc. And as a cisgender man, I always saw myself represented in every mainstream outlet. As a Black person, we have great legacy publications like Black Enterprise and Afrotech and The Plug. But as a queer person, I never saw myself represented. And I would always be pleasantly surprised, but surprised nonetheless, when I would hear about these amazing stories like the inventor and creator of Sirius XM radio being a trans woman, or that a Black gay millionaire helps fund the civil rights movement, and that Facebook has a gay co-founder, and that people like Arlen Hamilton, that you have the book behind you, even existed, right? And so I thought that if I don't know these things, and I'm someone who obsesses over this type of news, other people probably don't either. And it made me think about when I first came out, and the idea that I could be an out Black queer person and succeed in my career was almost unfathomable. Wow. And a lot of that had to do with not being represented or seeing people like me in the media that I was consuming. And so I thought that if this is a problem that I could solve, and in June 2020, I started very small, and it's been off to the races since then.
Congratulations, seriously. And you're absolutely right. We, in the film industry, and certainly in the fashion industry, we will see a lot of our queer community represented, but you're absolutely right about business. It just wasn't happening. And I don't know if you know of this great organization founded by two queer women here in Massachusetts called History Unerased. And it's what you just said, because I had no idea Sirius XM was founded by a trans woman at all, that the civil rights movement was funded by a queer person, all of this. Well, they go into history, like the Civil War to American Revolution to further back, to spotlight these incredible folks that are not taught in school. So that, again, no representation, who made significant contributions, both in battles, right? You don't ever think that somebody as a general led off and did all these incredible things, and they happen to be queer, or are inventing these incredible products or medicines or whatever. And so they've been working hard getting this taught in public school systems around the country. So I just wanted to do a quick shout out to History Unerased.
History Unerased. Thank you for that recommendation.
Well, and thank you for representing some things that I'm sure folks didn't know, that a co-founder of Facebook was queer. I mean, these are the things. And someone has to bring them to light. And I also love that everybody finds their entrepreneurial adventure pathway due to various reasons. And, plenty of people are hustling product in third grade, and you're like, they're definitely on their way, right? But what you said, it wasn't your intention, right, to set off in life to be, I'm definitely going to be an entrepreneur. But you saw a problem, you said, and you looked around, and nobody was solving it.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
So, but you had to start. You had to say, okay, why not me? And I am going to be the person who does this. Wow. First of all, what compelled you? And you said that you love to read the news and all of that was great, but what led you along this way where you said, you know what, this lived experience, as Arlen talks about in her book, It's About Damn Time. How did your lived experience prepare you for this journey of, and I love that you said quietly, kind of softly, launching small and start to build?
Yeah, that's a great question. So I think that my journey to Queerency started from a lesson in another business, right? Like they always talk about, the founder's journey is like, I don't think this was a failure, but just like lessons. And so prior to Queerency, I had a Black-owned business newsletter that I was sending out called The Rule. And I launched it in 2019. And it went through 2020. And I don't believe in like competing against other, you know, aligned companies, especially if what I'm doing or bringing to the table is not adding more to the conversation or doing it better than other people. I believe in collaborating, assisting, and helping. And as I looked at the landscape, like my content was good and the few readers I had enjoyed it, but they had so much better alternatives outside of what I was creating. And so the lesson for me there was that I needed to like find my niche and then niche down even from there, right?
Yeah.
And the more I niche down, that's when I was like, wait, like people are doing great work around Black-owned businesses right now, but no one's doing work around queer-owned businesses. And I'm kind of perfectly set up to do that. And so that's how it began. So I just sort of shifted my focus to another part of my identity, and just moved from there.
See, and I love your honesty. I mean, folks, to be able to say, hey, I was adding value for sure, but you know what? This may not be the best use of my capability. This might be a little too not dilute, it's too diluted. And
Mm,
you know what? I would rather send folks to XYZ blog or business newsletter
mhm.
and do an even deeper job in something that I'm even more passionate about and is more in alignment. And of course, you bring up something that's so important for folks to remember, which is sure it's been done before, but not by you and not for us. There's
Mm,
always room for a new business. I always say, walk down the bread aisle. Dave's bread just came out. Now, this is a guy who was incarcerated, had
yeah.
no opportunity to get a job. So he launched this bread company, a nice, healthy, organic bread, and hires formerly incarcerated folks to come work there. And he's taken, who would have thought another bread company could make it? So I just want to put that out there to founders. What you said was great. And also to understand yes, it's been done before, but not by you and not by us. So go for it. And so, Trevor, so you had to figure out, how did you want to, how'd you come up with Queerancy for the name? What kind of entity did you want to, how did you figure out all the parts and pieces? Because this is a news media startup.
Yeah. Well, I think that so people have asked me about the Queerency name, and I wish there was some fun story about it. There isn't. It just came to me one day. Like I was like, currency, Queerency. Went to GoDaddy and saw the domain was there, went to Instagram, the username was there. I was like, that's it. It just hit. But the idea of this being a news media company as opposed to like a nonprofit organization
Right.
or some other product was really important to me, because media, I believe, is not only like how we consume information and how we view the world, but also how we view ourselves, right? And so one of the things that's really important to me is being able to show people possibility models for who they can be and what they can achieve. And there's no better way to do that than through media. And so, like I said, I was already working on a newsletter project. And so I just basically pivoted all of my resources to that. I just used my MailChimp account to switch up the newsletter
See, there you go.
marketing. Yeah, I was using Squarespace at the time as a CMS. And I just went to Instagram as my top of funnel channel.
Right.
Yeah.
And folks, you have to understand, we all have to figure out, we have to prove our minimum value proposition. And in Travers' case, that people were going to want to hear about queer news the way he delivers it. But also we have to figure out how we're going to reach that customer segment, because you're very clear in your segment, but how are we going to reach them?
Mhm.
And I can sit there and go, well, obviously you were going to do reels and TikTok because you're so delicious and you're so good at it, but you didn't know that at the time. It's proven now, but you didn't know that at the time. How did that come about? How did you know that you were going to use video to say, hey folks, and I'm going to show everybody a quick one before we get too further along, but I just want to find out, how'd you know to go down that road?
Yeah, so I went kicking and screaming down that road, kicking and screaming.
No
Like,
way.
I was not at all interested in video, certainly not TikTok. And more so, when I first started Queerency, I was not interested in being the face of the brand, right? Like, I wanted this to be bigger than me. But what I realized is that Instagram's algorithm had changed to focus on and sort of promote video content. And over between 2020 and 2021, I noticed my engagement going down because I wasn't providing any reels or other video content. So I knew that I had to adapt and pivot, even if I didn't want to, into the reels. And that's how the video format for me began.
And did you fall in love with it? I mean, how did you get comfortable setting up the tripod or however you do it and start filming in, portrait, as we call it, versus landscape, like what you're looking at right now in the video?
Yeah. I mean, there was a learning curve. But I would say within the first month, I was like, okay, this is working. And the main reason is because I saw my engagement shoot up on Instagram, but specifically on TikTok. Because I knew that I had to do video for Instagram, I was like, why not give this TikTok thing a shot? And within like a month on TikTok, I'd already gotten more followers than I had gotten on Instagram in going on 2 years. So that was like my proof of concept that the video was working. But then also it hit me that like people want to hear from people, not from brands, right? People trust other people, not some, big brand. And I realized that like I consume media that's brought to me from people I like and trust. And so why shouldn't I be providing that for my audience?
Oh my gosh. I'm about to do a screen share here, but I may have to just stop and do a quick, I can't, never mind. I'm going to go share the TikTok right now, but that's a stitch that on a pillow moment, folks. We'll get to it, which is people want to hear from people. I love that something fierce, but I'm going to take you through right now and share one of Travers. Oh, I thought I had it pulled up already, but I'm going to come right down here. Can you see my screen?
Yes.
Okay, great. I thought this was terrific.
Big news, y'all. Grindr just went public. That means that you can now invest in the company on the New York Stock Exchange. Hey, I'm Trav, and I report on the queer economy. And if you've been following me, you might have seen my videos on the business history of Grindr and the new app that Grindr's founder recently launched. If not, be sure to check those out. But with this news, Grindr becomes one of the first and only queer-founded companies to be listed on a public stock exchange. So here are 3 things that you need to know about Grindr's public debut and what it means for.
So that's just a taste, everybody. You're going to have to go follow Travers on TikTok to listen to the rest. But that's just an example of how, you put yourself in front of something that's happened, a current piece of news.
Yeah.
And, that's a special way of using TikTok, of course, or IG Reels. You had thousands of views of that, but you're also sharing, I didn't know Grindr went public, A, and B, I didn't know it was the first queer-owned company to go public. I mean, this is that's true representation, Travers.
Yeah. No, and to your point about sort of that type of content on the platforms, like, TikTok, I think in 2020, 2019 was sort of viewed as this like Gen Z play platform.
And you had to dance.
And dancing and skits and stuff. And like that was but what I recognized, like there was another opening for my content, because if everyone's doing skits and dances, there's room for me to do something different. And that was another example of like finding my niche and like niching down and like going with it on that platform.
And you made it very easy. Of course, you shared with me during the tech check that you don't use a teleprompter. Like all of that just rolls off your.
Yeah, I don't use a teleprompter. And I think that I may at some point, just because it'll make it easier, because like I have to do a lot of like, starts and stops. But yeah, I don't use a teleprompter.
And I just shared, and I share that for folks because the stop, you can quickly memorize 15 seconds, right? And then hit pause. And but you don't have to be clever in the sense that you're singing or dancing or being just, a super high-end influencer with the way you're delivering. You are practicing what you're preaching, which is that people want to hear from people. And the way you combine it with your deliciousness, and I know I'm spending time on this, Travers, but it's because it's so important. A lot of people don't test these new ways of doing it because they think they have to be, fill in the blank. You and folks, you can find out there's so much training on how to just get that reel behind you and then put your face in front of it and deliver something where people are going to learn. LinkedIn algorithms love it. IG algorithms love it. TikTok algorithms love it. And what I just learned the other day, 2023 is all about joy on TikTok. And nobody brings the joy of the queer news like you do, Travers.
I love it. Like, I love, people often say that, like, I got this really great message from one of my TikTok followers or mutual friends on there yesterday. And he said that, like, he was thanking me for the positivity I bring to the platform. And that really struck me because I don't view it like that as much as like me just doing what I really love to do, right? Like, I generally enjoy talking about the queer economy and these really interesting people and telling people about the things that I know and things that they may not know. And so I think that's a really important key too, is to, like, if you can find what sort of makes your heart sing, right? Like, everything is not going to be your passion and your business does not have to be your passion. So I'm not saying that, but if you can find something that, like, really lights you up, it'll just sort of, like, exude from you and people will see it.
They will see it and they will feel it. And people always remember how you make them feel. And Travers, you make people feel really good. You bring this lightness to delivering the queer news. Where do you find the queer news? How do you stay on top of that? What are your sources?
I spend way too much time on my phone, just scouring the internet. But, like, seriously, like, Google alerts, like, I have a lot of Google alerts. I spend a lot of time following, like, Twitter topics that are going on, going to individual news websites, news website, Instagram pages or Twitter pages. So yeah, I just get my news from all sorts of places. And now people are sending me tips, which is awesome, right? So, like, people, like, they'll tag me in a story they see on TikTok or Twitter or Instagram, or they'll send me press releases. And that's really awesome.
Yeah. And as you get into the, and I don't know if do you get HARO, help a reporter out?
I've heard about that. I've actually never used that, but that's
use it.
Yeah,
they're always looking for or talking about that. But getting in with the PR agencies is always so helpful because they need to get press out about the companies, right?
Absolutely, yeah,
and things like that, and associations. That is wonderful, and that's what it takes. And you always delight us, whether it's something obscure we've never heard before, or how did RuPaul make his billions, millions, and how did he build his empire and what that looked like. I want to thank you, Mia. Absolutely. That was the quickest stitch that on a pillow moment in the show. Boom, right out of the gate. And I'm going to remind everybody again, this stitch that on the pillow moment. We just have a quick clap because it's for people want to hear from people. I also want to bring up a phenomenal queer founder, the one and only Kevin Heyer. And I'm going to tell you, everybody, this is someone who unexpectedly found himself in addiction at, the tender age of 39. All right. Least expected it. And so it caused him to solve the problem. And it's called the Higher Calling Foundation. And it's, named at his last name is perfect. So while the Higher Calling Foundation is a 501c3 nonprofit organization We work closely with for-profit businesses, and my experience leading a startup foundation has many parallels to the one entrepreneurs have. Thank you for being such a strong ally, Ande. And yes, and so Kevin and Travers, you need to talk.
Yeah, I'm
As this,
writing this
you know,
down. The Higher Calling Foundation. That's awesome.
yes, and what he's doing, Kevin, just put a little blurb in too in the comments if you're still with us, how you are serving the world with the Higher Calling Foundation, because it's so important. The stigma associated with addiction, and folks, it can happen in a nanosecond. If you have an injury, or you happen to be at a party and someone turns you on to something that you didn't know you were going to get turned on to, and all of a sudden your body's like, I need more of that now. And there's a stigma associated, and that's one of the things that Higher Calling, I believe, is also focused on. So we're celebrating you, Kevin. Yay. All right. So the other thing that you had to start looking at, was this a side hustle for you, Travers? Is it still a side hustle? Are you now full-time?
Yeah, it was definitely a side hustle. And like, I've been a independent contractor for years at this point. So lots of different freelance projects for publishing companies, self-publishing projects, editorial projects, it just runs the gamut. And so in that way, it was and still is a side hustle. But the goal is over the next year to really be able to monetize this enough to make this my full-time job, because at a certain point you have to focus all of your energy on something to really get it to grow.
Right, you really do. And as we discussed last week, folks, earlier this week, on Tuesday, it doesn't have to be an overnight. An overnight can be 10 years.
Yeah.
It takes time. And when you're building content and creating a content platform, it can also take a long time to figure out the revenue model. And you're going to pull on different threads. Like, what threads do you want to pull on that you think might help you monetize Queerency?
So thus far, I've been really fortunate to participate in some accelerators and incubator programs that have also provided funding. So I was a part of the Google News Initiative Startups Labs, which has been so amazing.
I didn't even know they existed. I mean, I knew Google. How did you find them?
Just being a news junkie, like just tapping into, always paying attention to stuff going on in the news. And they work with local and small news organizations to really help them find their audiences, learn how to be a news business and not just content creators or journalists, and then really scale from there. So they've been such a great support. The Maynard Institute of Journalism as well, which focuses on training journalists of color, was another way to help train me. And they also provided funding opportunities. And then over the past year, I've been really fortunate to develop some brand partnerships that will be launching this year. One is with, I probably should wait to talk about that.
Okay.
So the brand partnerships and stuff like that. So.
This is wonderful. And founders, take this in. In fact, yes, that's right. I'm having an ANDELICIOUS moment right now. Because when you sit into the founder seat, you've never done this before, or maybe you've done it before, but maybe not in this industry for that customer segment. It is always new territory. Parents will tell you the same thing. Anybody with pets, no pet is alike, no kid is alike. And it's a different skill sets that you have to learn. So I love that you found programs ideal for what you needed to learn and understand and better navigate this industry, because you already have a very clever, bright brain that can then connect the dots, but you don't know what you don't know, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. And that was the sort of the blessing of working with these organizations, is learning the unknown unknowns, right? Like there were so many things that I didn't even know that I needed to be doing or needed to be asking.
What's an example, Travers?
I think, just some of them sort of around the business of media, right? So like everything from financial planning and projections to like how to pitch a brand partnership, how to create a deck, how to do your taxes, like all those things, right?
These
Like
are
how
nuts
to
and bolts.
exactly.
And
Yeah.
folks, if you're feeling any shame about that, I know from personal conversations with Gail Goodman, the founder of Constant Contact, when she launched that platform, she was like, how do I pay rent? How do I even find an office? Like, what do I do? Knew nothing. And you know, she went public and then sold it for over $1 billion. So you have to really just be humble,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And go,
Absolutely.
I need to learn.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh,
So that's absolutely the case. And so like though that's been really helpful. And then you know, one of the great things about the particular market segment that I focus on is that it's working with queer people and serving queer audiences that are running businesses. And so there's been a lot of learning that's taken place on my end from the people that I'm covering, right?
right.
So they are from, you know, personal finance advice to startup advice. The people that I report on, I also learn from them and can apply that to my own business.
Well, and I love that your background as a freelancer, first you already knew how to be self-directed. A lot of founders have a hard time with that transition from employee to owner because they're used to someone sort of coming up with the direction they need to be in and going in, and you have to do that yourself now. So you already knew how to do that. How did these programs help you come up with strategies? Because you love what you're doing, but you always have to keep stepping back and say, okay, here I am today. Where do I want to be next quarter, next 6 months, next 12
Absolutely.
months, 2
Absolutely.
years? Where am I, milestones? Am I meeting them? Do you even have milestones?
Yeah, absolutely.
What does
Like
that look like for you?
The first one I did was all about just like validating the market. So that was really helpful. And then the most recent, and that was in 2020, and that was perfect for where I was at that moment. The most recent one I did was all about preparing and projecting revenue goals, right? And so that's where I am now. And so they were really helpful in helping me say, okay, these are the channels that I can use to sort of prepare for revenue. This is the forecasting I can use. Here are some Google Sheets, spreadsheets that I can use, sort of like help do that sort of automation.
With all the parts and pieces filled in so that you didn't have to reinvent the wheel here. People like, this is where you need to have your focus for a growth strategy.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Terrific.
So they were really helpful. And then just like tools, right, that you can use, like Notion and all those sorts of things.
No, I don't know Notion.
Yeah. Yeah.
Is that bad? I don't know what Notion is.
Yeah. It's just a project management software.
Excellent.
Yeah. So, just stuff like that's been really helpful.
And now what I really love that you came up with, and I know you just had your first one because I want to talk all about that, is the LGBTQ plus Business Week. Yeah. There's nothing better than having a place where people can convene, like-minded, and those who want to reach that audience, right? Who are getting together and talking about this. How did the first one go? What did you learn from the experience? Share with everybody.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think I should start with like why I did it in the first place. And like over the last sort of 6 months of 2022, there was a very noticeable uptick in harassment and violence and vandalism against a lot of queer-owned businesses and safe spaces. And I struggled with I like to share good news on my platform because there's so much bad news in the, news atmosphere, but I was keeping tabs on this, behind the scenes. And I was like, there's something that has to be done. There's something that I could be doing. And it hit me. I was like, we deserve a way to raise awareness for these businesses and to support these businesses. And so the idea came in October or even late September about doing this business week to help raise awareness and show support for queer-owned businesses, especially leading up to the holiday season. And picking the week of November 1st made a lot of sense because it was right, before the sort of Black Friday holiday shopping period.
Mm-hmm.
There were no other, conflicts going on with that. And so I reached out to my community and people that I knew would be on board. And I'm so grateful for I had over 24 queer-owned brands that jumped on board to help, launch this pilot year. And it, the only goal this year was to just raise awareness for queer-owned brands, because I knew it was, the beginning. You start small and you build there.
And was it virtual?
It was virtual. It was a virtual awareness, online digital campaign. And, I worked with a great graphic designer to develop some digital assets that people could use and just take and make their own. And the goal was for people that I don't know that just kind of stumbled upon this to find this, to go to the website, download some of the graphics, put their own spin on it. And they did that. And that was a success for me. And so the goal is to build from there and prepare for the first annual one, which will be this November in 2023.
And this is so important, what you're doing. And I know it's so important, but let me share with the audience. For example, here in Boston, it came out of the mayor's office a couple years ago. Well, we would give more business, the government would give more business to Black-owned business owners if we knew where they were. And so the Black Economic Council said, okay, we'll show you where they are. They filled up the entire Boston Conference Center. I mean, this place is friggin' huge, okay? And they said, here you are. Here you go. And come on, all right?
Yeah.
This is what you're doing, because people will say, well, I don't see, because they don't. They've got such a lens, a filter on there, and they only see who they are part of.
Yep.
That to amplify queer-owned brands and honor them, because another little sidebar that and I'd love to have you talk a little bit about this, a lot of founders that I know who are queer do not let folks know, especially if they're raising capital.
Yeah.
And especially if they present, as a white male.
Sure.
Yeah, they're going to take advantage of that extra, 98% of venture capital will go to the white male, but they don't let anybody know because of their fear of the judgment, or that becomes an obstacle of their moving ahead. You have to celebrate founders. There's this lovely thing. Well, it shouldn't be about the color or the, how they identify. It should. It should. Let's talk about that fantasy. In the meantime, someone who is queer has to work really hard as a founder, harder than perhaps a white female like myself, or certainly the white male in moving their business forward. Talk about what you've learned about that in getting amplified and bringing a brand. I mean, Grindr, they could just fly their flag proud. They're a phenomenal brand and they've done everything right.
Yeah.
But what have you learned as you have amplified queer brands via Queerency?
Oh, that's such a wonderful question. So I think a couple of things. The first is that visibility is really important, but there's also privileges with visibility, or that to be visible has to come from a place of privilege, right? And so visibility is not always an option for certain people. And I hold space for that. So everyone can't be out and proud. But I think that for the people who can, I think it's really important, because if no one is visible, then we never evolve, we never progress, right? Just
you stay in the shadows.
You stay in the shadows. And just like I said, it should be a well-known fact that SiriusXM or Facebook or even PayPal have queer founders, and people don't know that. And so I think that it's not only for increasing the visibility for people outside of our community, but it's about increasing the visibility specifically for people within our community to hopefully help inspire us to, be proud of who we are and not hide in the shadows with that part of our identities.
Right. And as Mia said in her comment, I am this many years old today when I learned that about the Sirius XM co-founder.
Sure, yeah.
Crazy. And also when we had Sarah Scala on the show, I think it was like early summer. Sarah Scala has been a consultant. She's a beloved organizational development consultant, large brands. They all love bringing in her perspective, but she did not come out until a year ago.
Yeah.
And that was very scary for her, but she knew she had to start talking about, by the way, DEI, folks, you know, you got to include the LGBTQ plus community. And so her coming out was at her own time. And she said the same thing, Travers. You cannot force somebody to come out as a queer-owned business, just like you cannot force someone to come out as queer to their loved ones or the community. It has to be in their own time and own way. Yeah. But what you're doing with Queerancy and with your oh my gosh, what's the week called?
The LGBTQ plus business week. Yeah.
Right. You're giving them, okay, well, here's a roadmap. So when you are ready, because they can be observers, they can be stealth, but they can say, okay, and this is what happened when these folks who kind of look like me did it. And what they went through, I feel safer. Maybe they'll hold my hand, you know, maybe they'll help me. And you're providing that connective tissue, that connective glue to help people come together and create greater results.
That's absolutely, that's the goal and you know, like I'm creating this sort of for like what I needed a decade ago, right? Or what I needed as a teen, right? Someone to be able to see that it was even possible, right? Because like, if you can't even fathom certain things and it's harder for that to happen, right? So with Queerancy, with LGBTQ plus business week, the goal is just to create the platforms and the spaces for people to see the possibilities of what they can be and achieve in business and beyond.
Everybody taking that in? It's the possibilities model. That's right, Mia, the possibilities model. It's so important, folks. I just love that. And you're already giving back, not just through, you know, the LGBTQ plus business week, but you are also a judge now for the Maynard Institute Media Entrepreneurship Award, right?
Yeah, that was so much fun. Yeah, I did that last fall. And the previous fall, I won that pitch competition. So it was so much fun to come and be able to be on the judges end. And as I told them, I'm so glad that I competed the year before and not against that group, because they were so good and it was such a difficult task to judge them. So that was really fun.
Oh, I love that. And yeah, that's so important too, founders, that ability to give back on your founder journey. And how about funding? Because we always like to talk about this on the Startup Life Live show. How are you funding? You know, a lot of times I have to laugh because some say there's this friends and family round and people are like, I should be so lucky. I'm the one that people are borrowing $20 from, or maybe they're sleeping on my couch. How are you funding Queerancy at this point in time?
Yeah, well, I mean, I think the first thing is that there's very little overhead, you know, like, and that's a great thing about the internet and so many of these platforms, like we talked about StreamYard that we're on now, like they can be low cost or in some cases free, right?
Right.
So, and I'm the only full-time-ish employee of Queerancy. I've worked with some amazing contributors and freelancers like Rocio Sanchez.
Shout out, say that louder.
Rocio Sanchez. She is a marketing expert, and she's just done so much great work for me, with me rather, not for me, with me through Queerancy and outside of Queerancy. She's been amazing. Also, my best friend, Justin Cooper, who is a software engineer and graphic designer. He's been very helpful in my journey, my biggest cheerleader along the way. And so I say that to say that, like, in the early stages, there's not been a lot to fund, unlike other types of industries.
Sure.
You need lots of capital to even begin the process.
Right.
And so it's been, you know, for, I don't like the term, but it's been bootstrapping, but there's not been a lot to bootstrap. And like I said, outside of that, it's been the generosity of the grants that I've received from
the competitions you've entered, et cetera.
Yeah.
It's called non-dilutive capital, folks.
Yeah.
When you can get out there and get some money in without having to give up a dime or equity in your company, it's wonderful. And also, I, as an observer, having a 4x founder, I ran a monthly pitch event here in Boston, co-hosted for 3 years. As an observer and watching your journey, what I really see that you've done, which is the hardest thing people can do. Someone could have raised millions of dollars, set up a beautiful platform to look like Huffington News, right? Only for the queer folks and businesses. And then, gone out to find their tribe. Yeah. You have done what is so important. And the first thing that many experienced founders will say is important: go out and build your community. Because when you're ready to go to the next level with the platform, they're going to be there to help you get the word out. Yep. Be a great equity crowdfunding opportunity where they could all be investors, because you know how much everybody knows how much I love equity crowdfunding. I can slap in $100 or $250, not have to be an accredited investor, yet be an owner of the business. And then it'll be much easier for you. You show traction, you show everything. So I am so excited for what is coming down the road for you, because I get your clarity and how you're going to do this. And I know it's evolving. What does success look like for you, Travers? And I know that's right now, today. I know that will change as you go forward over the years, but today, what is that looking like? And how are you measuring success?
Wonderful question. And so, I think that my North Star, there are lots of different metrics and measurements, quantitative and qualitative, for how I view success. But my North Star is, am I serving my community and my communities, because there are multiple communities within and intersections within queerness well, and am I helping them be informed, be inspired, and show, again, the possibility models for who they can be and what they can achieve. And so I get feedback every day that says that is being successful, from the comments, the DMs, the engagement that I get. On a qualitative or quantitative way, or in a quantitative way, like some of my goals are to grow my newsletter list, to grow my following on Instagram and TikTok as top of funnel. And so those sort of like numerical, easy to see sort of goals and to quantitate and to measure goals, are not that different than most other people. But yeah, and then of course, to like, I guess from like a revenue perspective, to be able to make enough money from Queerancy to do this full time, and to also scale and bring on a full-time team.
Yeah, that's going to be great as you build out your team. You can keep it lean. Eric Ries of the Lean Startup, he's always like 5 members. That's all you need.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. That's super lean. But I love your vision. I love what success looks like for you. And I am very clear you are a deep problem solver, and that you are going to figure this out. This is the one common thread all founders have, folks. They solve problems, and they actually love solving problems. So I know you'll figure that out. And I know there'll be sponsorship opportunities for you, because you're able to help brands out. You have done the hard job. You have created this community of people that you are reaching, and brands are going to want to reach those folks as well on a wonderful, uplifting platform like yours. It doesn't mean you don't talk about some of the hard or heart-heavy news, but just still, your presence and your essence, Travers, is so wonderful. You're a light in the world and very easy to digest. And frankly, just a breath of fresh air and a break from the way so many people are angrily delivering information. And I'm grateful for that. And can I just ask, how did you know that that's how you wanted to deliver it?
Well, I mean, firstly, thank you for saying that. That's so kind, and I received that, and I'm just so grateful for you saying that. It just comes natural to me. Like sort of alluded to this earlier. Like, and I was literally talking to my friend Justin about this last night. Like, that's just that's just natural for me. And I've tried the sort of angry sort of Fox news, not Fox. I'm not gonna
Yeah, but still
that way. But that very like, angrier or more passionate sort of thing. And it just doesn't work for me. Like some people can do that and do it well and it come across as authentic. That's just not my thing, right? And it's so interesting because I think that sort of like the blessing and the curse sometimes of this delivery style is that I think some people may think that I'm more like supportive of the news story that I'm telling, right? And that's an interesting thought, is because like just because I'm sharing the news in a positive and uplifting way with like sort of a smile on my face does not necessarily mean that I agree with whatever, So there's some things to like notice about that or to think about, but it's just natural. And I think that's the lesson, is to do what comes natural to you. Of course, you always improve and learn and grow.
Oh yeah, folks, don't change who you be to fit into a mold. You can deliver in a way. If you look around you and everybody's like, so, I mean, hello, look at me, startup industry. What? I got these bright colors. I'm laughing. I got clappers. Startup industry is not usually that much fun.
Yeah. And people can tell if you're not being authentic, right? They can tell if what you're doing is not who you are or isn't coming or if it's forced. And so like, I know that. And I was like, just lean into who you are, Travers. Just keep it real. And the people who that resonates with will enjoy it. And the people that it don't, won't. And that's okay too, because everything and everyone is not for everyone.
Right.
Yeah.
Thank you for that great comment, Mia. She says, so wonderful to hear about your journey, and goes on to say, it's so true, Travers, when your videos pop up, seeing your smiling face, sharing information I need to know, I immediately stop scrolling.
That's good. Thank you. That's good feedback, because like, again, that's just natural for me. So I didn't realize it's only when people tell me that affects them in that way that I'm like, oh, okay, cool. So there's like a practical aspect to this as well. So I'm glad that it's resonating.
Right. And of course, she totally understands your, don't change, right? That's why she's got a swear word incorporated into her brand, because, and as Mia asks at the end of every podcast, she asks her guests, what's your favorite swear word? Oh. And it's Travers went and thought about that, Mia.
Yeah, I don't know. That's a tough one.
And
all of them, maybe.
All right. And thank you, Richard O. Don't change who you be. Stitch that on a pillow for sure. Thank you for that, Richard O. The podcaster's dream come true. If you ever want to start a podcast, go check out Richard O. At Talk to Me Guy, because he will help you launch that podcast and hold your hand as a producer. And I know, and Mia's laughing. Yeah, that's a tough one to choose, right? I have so many, and I am rather proud that all my children learned their best swear words from their mother.
Wow. Hey.
It
starts at home.
It starts at home. That's right. So you've been on this journey for a while, Travers. How have you seen? I mean, of course, you were an independent person as far as, freelancer and all, but now you are going deeper. You know that you've proven that your idea has legs, that it could be profitable, provided, you move forward in a certain way and nail your revenue model metrics. But how has this journey, in particular with Queerancy, helped you and changed you and made you better, both professionally and personally?
Oh, I love this question. So the first thing is that it helped me develop a thicker skin, but it also sort of helped me remain nimble and flexible as well, because putting your face and yourself out there for anything, but particularly on the internet, and particularly speaking about topics like the LGBTQ plus community and other topics that can be lightning rods, unfortunately, that's scary. And what I learned is that, you have to develop a thick skin, but you also like just don't take things personally, because one thing that I realize is that everyone comes to enters the world, enters a situation, and experiences my work and my content through the lens of all of their past experiences, their traumas, their joys, etc. And so both the positive and the negative are all, feedback that I receive all comes from things that most times, or all times in many cases, don't have anything to do with me personally, right?
Right. It has to do with their indoctrination. It has to do with their biases.
Yeah, and both positive and negative biases, right? Like, so I think that was something that I learned too. And then the other thing is that I think that when you are being a content creator, a journalist doing work in media, it can either make you more cynical or make you more empathetic, right? And I'm grateful that for me, this has made me more empathetic to people around me and the world around me, because like now, I know what it's like to be in the arena of social media and content creation. I also know what it's like to build a business and to have an idea and put it all of your blood, sweat, and tears into it, and it not work out the way you want it to, or be a struggle. And so I think that the bigger sort of thing that I'm really grateful for with my journey is just like the ability to sort of be even more empathetic than I already was. And just like, hopefully that doesn't change, and that will just keep propelling me forward.
Excellent. And bravo to really understanding and embracing all of those feels and experiences. And Brent, I love that you always ask our guests, how diverse is Queerency? Now, look, we've got, obviously, Travers is queer and he's Black, so he's got a lot going for him on the diversity front. But there's still, Brent is coming also from neurodiversity and from disability, folks who don't have all of their parts and pieces working in a more traditional human moving through the planet way. And so perhaps, you can answer that, or how you want to move forward is making sure that you bring, disabilities into the equation as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think that's a great, thanks for that question, because, obviously Queerancy right now is just sort of a one-man show with some help from some great freelancers at this moment. But like, one of the beauties of this journey thus far is to like learn about all of the other sort of types of diversity that there are, from the neurodiversity to like also just like the ways, like one of the things that I've been sort of learning about from my followers and mutual friends this year, and that I follow on Instagram and TikTok, is like, fat phobia and things like that, and the ways in which, the systemic ways in which that affects, people, and how we can internalize fat phobia just like we do racism, homophobia, sexism, and misogyny. And so I think that moving forward, like I've already, been incorporating, sort of neurodiversity and things like that into the content, and spotlighting people with that. But like, I want to continue to do that and amplify those voices even more, because, the more people are able to learn and be open to hearing about the lived experiences of people unlike them, the better. And I think that all of us in some way have a level of privilege, or at least a gift that other people don't have. And so like from that, being able to recognize that like, okay, like I'm Black, I'm queer, etc. But I'm also a cisgender man, right?
Right.
Like, and so there are things that I'm not going to experience because of my gender or my ability or whatever that other people will. And so leaving space for that, not being defensive about that as well is really important. And, you know, acting in good faith, I think is a really good thing. You know, when, you know, a lot has to do with intention. People are going to make a mistake. People are going to, in their journeys, are going to say the wrong things, do the wrong things, and make general mistakes. But if it's done with the right intention, if it's done from a place of love and with a goal of correction and learning, then I think that people who are acting in good faith are happy to, you know, work with you. So
Absolutely.
yeah. And like the very last thing is like another answer to that question is like the Queerancy audience is extremely diverse. Like where my followers are like 60 to 70% people of color, 70 to 75% women and non-binary people, and just sort of, and also very young. And that's why I'm so grateful for people like you, Andy, because it's sort of that generational diversity that's really important, because my audience skews Gen Z and millennials. So like the biggest portion is like that, I think 25 to 34 sort of contingent. And then 18 to 24 is a second. And then from there, it is sort of, you know, with Gen Z or Gen X and older. And so it's great. I'm grateful to have other pockets of diversity, particularly when it comes from other generations. And that's really helpful.
I love that. Seriously love that. Thank you for that. And thank you, Brent, for the great question and reminder. And how may the startup community add wind to your sails? Give us some marching orders.
Well,
action steps.
Yeah. Well, again, thank you for having me and inviting me on your platform. That means a lot to me. And thank you for everyone that's out there watching live or who will be watching the replay. I really appreciate you sticking around thus far. I think the quickest and easiest way is to follow me on TikTok and Instagram. I'm at Queerency, Queerency, on all the platforms. And also you can subscribe to my newsletter at Queerancy.com. And that's going to be relaunching this year. It's a weekly newsletter that gives you the tea on the queer economy. And from there, you'll be in the know about some really great and exciting things to come this year that I'll be launching.
Oh my gosh. And I'm so excited for the real inaugural LGBTQ plus business week, where you really go large on that. You know, I love that you tested the waters out and now you're ready to go. Okay, this is how we need to really build out, because this needs to be also an in-person event eventually.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
You know, and get the press involved and get so many folks in there to just spotlight what you're doing. Folks, all the links are going to be in the show notes. Okay. So you can follow Queerency, Queerency everywhere. Travers glows. If you have any good stories or LGBTQ plus queer businesses that you can send to Travers, do not hesitate to do that. Do you have an email, Travers? Folks can email you?
Yeah. You can just email me at hello@queerancy.com.
Okay, I'll put that into the show notes too. Better make a note for myself to make sure it's in there. Thank you, Travers, for joining us and sharing this incredible platform that you are creating. A business news media platform is a big, hairy, audacious idea. And I believe that you are uniquely qualified to be doing this. And I'm so thrilled you joined us today. Thank you. Any last words to folks?
Well, thank you, Andy. And I think the last word is just like, I don't have a last word. No, you've done a wonderful job. Yeah.
There we go.
Not important.
You've said it all. We
Yeah.
squeezed every drop out of you for now, but you'll have to come back and give us an update because we're
I
going
would
to want
love
to
to.
know. Thank you so much for carving out time to join me, and sharing your story. I'm going to pop you into the green room and wrap up the show. Thank you, Travers
Bye. Thank you,
Johnson.
everyone.
Yay. Oh my gosh. That is such a remarkable founder who is serving a community that richly deserves to be amplified and spotlighted and celebrated, and also giving the representation and the opportunity for those who are on the sidelines that aren't ready to step out as queer business owners, the opportunity to see how others are doing it so they can feel safer and safer as they go forward with their business for when the time comes out, like our Sarah Scala did, as she told us early in June of 2022, or maybe it was July. Let me share with you who's coming up next for a delicious conversation on the Startup Life Live show. I don't know if you've seen Kim Roxy. I mean, she has been everywhere with her brand, Lamique Beauty. And she's building an e-commerce beauty company with pure ingredients for multicultural women. And wow, she is out there everywhere. And she, at the age of 21, she started with a $500 investment. She opened her own makeup shop that catered to multicultural women in her hometown of Houston, Texas. And after running her shop for 14 years, she launched Lamique Beauty in 2020. And I mean, she's been so many awards, but also she just was on HSN, Home Shopping Network, and she's going to be going back. All sorts of great things are happening. You are going to love her energy and love her story. And how do you know whenever I post a new show? That's right. You join the Startup Life Live meetup group. Yay. And there's the QR code, or go ahead and do the bit.ly link and join there and find out who we are. You're going to get all the deep dive on Kim Roxy. Until then, folks, you know that you are stronger and more capable than you really know to be doing this work. And as we say here in Boston, you're wicked smarter than you think. You've got this. You are a problem solver. And you know what? I believe that you are going to be able to figure it out. Let me know how I can help, okay? Until next time, I'm wishing you a delicious day everywhere you glow. Mwahs. Ooh, from Boston. Cheers, everyone.